The Prepper Podcast, Episode 18.
You've got to know whether or not their president's a crook.
The American people would never vote for socialism. He said, under the name of liberalism, the American people will adopt every fragment of the socialist program.
The Prepper Podcast is an up-to-date survival podcast based on military wilderness and modern-day survival and may be found at theprepperpodcast.com. I am Ken Jensen, and this is the podcast about everything survival. This is episode 18, and today I discuss bug-out vehicles like trucks, vans, or RVs, or recreational vehicles. I also give you a bug-out vehicle equipment list or packing list. The show notes for today may be found at theprepperpodcast.com/018. And now for the housekeeping. I want you guys to remember that I have a book. The book is titled The Honey and the Bee, and it is a basic introduction to beekeeping, and we'll tell you all the basic information, and we'll give you links and more information about beekeeping. And you can buy this on Amazon if you just go to theprepperpodcast.com and look in the left sidebar on my website, and you can click on that. It will take you to Amazon, and you can buy my book. Or you can get my book for free by signing up for my mailing list, also on the left sidebar of my website. Don't forget to call into the Prepper Podcast call-in line. That is at 978-KNOWS-IT. Or, for those of you who do not have letters, it's 978-566-9748. I don't have any calls today. I really like your calls, so go ahead and give me some, and give me your questions so that I can play them on the air and answer them on the air. I want to make this your show, not mine. Next week, I will be announcing the winner of the Colt Tactical Fighter Survival Knife. We had a drawing for that, and the thing is by the time you listen to this, I will already have chosen a winner. But because I always record these a little bit in advance, you're probably not you're not going to get the news for that until next week. Or you can check out my blog at cleversurvivalist.com, and the winner will be announced. Obviously, if you are a subscriber to my mailing list, you will know if you won right away. Like I said, today I want to discuss bug-out vehicles like trucks, vans, or RVs, and I'm going to give you a list of equipment that you should put in your vehicle. First, let's talk about the types of vehicles. All right, first you're going to need to assess your needs in a bug-out vehicle. If you decide that you need a vehicle that can bug out, what are you looking for? All right, most people prefer things like Jeeps and Hummers and FJ Cruisers, stuff like that, because they believe that these are the ultimate off-road vehicles, and, they are really great for off-road. So, we, for a while, had a Jeep Liberty, and it was great for off-road. It was, we had some all-terrain vehicle or all-terrain tires and stuff like that on it, and it was very good. It would have been great because it was good on the highway and off-highway. So, people who think that, I don't blame them for thinking that. So, the next is some people prefer things like RVs or recreational vehicles because they're big and they're essentially like a mobile home. It's okay to if you're one of those guys as well. The cool thing about the RVs is you can go ahead and you can stock it full of supplies. Whenever you are thinking about your time at home, you're thinking about stocking up a bunch of supplies at home. Well, half of those supplies can actually be in your RV. That way you can get out of Dodge, I guess. You can get out into your RV and take off, and you still have half of all the supplies that you were stockpiling, for your preps. Oh, something about today, guys. I'm just not feeling it. We were at the hospital for a family member of ours, and I'm really tired. So just please, just understand. So let's continue. Okay, let's continue. All-wheel drive cars. A lot of people want all-wheel drive cars. You think things like the Outback and stuff like that. And I think if you're going to go with an all-wheel drive car, you may as well just go with a Jeep with a 6-cylinder or something like that. So just go ahead and go with a Jeep. Don't waste your time with the all-wheel drive cars. That's just my opinion. A lot of people just want regular minivans because they think that they can hold more gear. They do have more. They have more storage space than a car, but if you're going to go with a van, in my opinion, you should just go with an RV. Now, this is assuming, that you can actually purchase what vehicle you want for a bug-out vehicle. Most people are going to just have whatever vehicles they have. The next would be a Prius, and it's really funny that I mentioned a Prius. But the next thing is a Prius, and the reason is because the Prius has a lot going for it, believe it or not. And several hybrid vehicles are this way, but the Prius has this ability to maintain full battery, stuff like that. You can turn your Prius on, and even though your Prius is on, it's not actually on, and it's not using gasoline. All it will do is it will kick on in order to charge the battery bank that is inside the Prius. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be attaching your battery bank to their battery bank. It's really simple, and the Prius will keep everything completely charged without using too much gasoline. So that's actually one of the good reasons for having a Prius. However, the Prius, we all know, can hardly go anywhere. Don't even try to go up on a high curb with a Prius. All right, so now we can go ahead and start running into the list of stuff that we're going to need in our bug-out vehicle. Let's go through some of the categories of stuff. The list that I'm going to give you right now for the bug-out vehicle is actually just a variation on the wilderness list. Okay, the list of categories for today. The main ones, there are a couple more, but we got water, food, shelter, security, and energy or light. Okay, so all of these are just a portion, and there's also medical as well. But we got these, and then a couple that I added was vehicle maintenance stuff, and I also added utilitarian items. So the first thing that we're going to go is water. You want to keep water in your bug-out vehicle. Water is the most important thing in survival, so we're going to make sure that we always have plenty of it. Now, everything that I'm going to give you in all these lists is going to be in addition to your bug-out bag. You already have a lot of items in your bug-out bag, so don't think that I'm leaving them out on purpose. There are a lot of things in that bag. The plan is you take that bag. So this is additional stuff that you wouldn't carry on your back, or that you would want extra of instead of trying to carry everything on your back. These are the extra items that you would want multiples of, or just the things that you could not carry. The first thing, like I said, was water. This is priority number one. You've got 2 to 3 liters per day per person. Okay, now because you have your bug-out bag and you have the pills and stuff in that, and remember I told you in your bug-out bag you didn't want to carry too much water, you weren't going to be able to carry too much water. Well, this is the perfect time to be able to carry too much water. 2 to 3 liters per person per day. A lot of people say 1 gallon per person per day. We're going to keep these in 2-liter soda bottles. All right, 2-liter soda bottles, and if you haven't been listening very long, you don't know why I say this, but 2-liter soda bottles, these are PET bottles or PET bottles. They are not the polybicarbonate bottles, so they are not the ones that are known to have all the cancer-causing agents and stuff like that. But the great thing about the 2-liter soda bottles is they are made for an acidic drink, and they are made for a carbonated drink, so they're good under pressure and under acid. Now, that's going to make a very strong, durable bottle for you to put your water in. If you put in a milk jug, if you drop it at all, if you drop it at all, it's going to bust open and it's going to be all over the place. But if you drop a 2-liter soda bottle, unless you drop it straight on the cap, it's not going to drop. Okay, so we've just talked about water. All right, your water is going to be 2 to 3 liters per person per day, and you're going to use soda bottles, and it's per person, guys, per person, and that is per car. Most of this stuff is per car, okay? Just remember that. This is per car. Now we're going to move on to foods. Talk about the foods that you should keep in your bug-out vehicle. All right, the first thing is a 3-day supply for everyone beyond your bug-out bag. So every single person should have their bug-out bag. They should have food in their bug-out bag, and it should last 72 hours. But we want a 3-day supply minimum for everyone in each vehicle. So you're going to need, if you got 4 people, you need 12 days worth of food, right? We're going to count all pregnant and breastfeeding mothers as 2 people because they need the extra calories to keep their energy up because they are feeding a baby. Believe me, my wife right now is feeding 2 of them, and she is completely drained of energy at all times. You want a lot of this food, unfortunately, to be in cans. So get some canned foods. And I would keep can openers, but the great thing about it is most soup cans and stuff nowadays come with the little convenient tab on top. So it's good to have the tab because it requires less energy and time to do it. But then have can openers just in case, that little backup. Another great thing to have in there is freeze-dried foods. Freeze-dried foods taste great and they hold up for a long time. Now remember, in the summertime, you may have problems with your food. You just have to determine where you're at and what you are doing and what you want in your vehicle. Okay, your bug-out vehicle is your bug-out vehicle, not mine. Mine is going to have my own stuff in it, and I have determined exactly what's going to be in mine. So you determine what's going to be in yours. You tailor my list that I'm giving you today to your vehicle. All right. Now that that's over with, we're going to talk about the shelter. All right, shelter is important in military and wilderness survival, and in modern-day survival, shelter is pretty much provided. But the shelter today is going to be your bug-out vehicle. Your bug-out vehicle is a great shelter because it usually is a hard top, and it keeps the elements out very well. You can turn it on and you've got air conditioning or heating, and it will keep wild things away as well. But you should always keep a tent, tarp, and a backpacking hammock with you inside the vehicle because you never know when you're actually going to need to leave the vehicle and take that stuff with you. But a lot of that stuff is also in the bug-out bag. Remember, this is also in addition to that. The security of your bug-out vehicle. That's the next thing we're going to go over. Security. Now, I think I've talked about security of a home. If I haven't, I will soon enough. But the security of your bug-out vehicle is going to look a little bit different than the security of your home. I will tell you to keep pepper spray so that you can, pepper spray is really good. And keep a stun gun in your vehicle. And keep strobing flashlights in your vehicle. Strobing flashlights, believe it or not, are really, really good for messing people up. If they're coming at you or whatever, you got a strobing flashlight, move it over to your left side when you've got your gun in your right. Or move the flashlight way over. Extend your arm all the way out to the left and then shine it at the person. And they're going to think that you're behind the flashlight because they can't see past the flashlight. And if it strobes, you're really going to mess them up. In the middle of the night with a strobing flashlight, you can really screw somebody up and get the upper hand on them. with the strobing flashlight, and I don't have this in my show notes, but there's a thing called a dazzler laser, and military is using it right now, and I think that it is possible to get a dazzler laser for civilian use. A dazzler laser is exactly what it sounds like. It is a laser, but the thing is instead of being in a very sharp beam, it's got a very long distance, but it's a wide angle laser. So it covers a lot more space than just a regular laser. And this is actually meant to shine people in the eyes, temporarily blind them, but not permanently affect them. Okay, so that's a really cool non-lethal way of getting people. Now, we all want to keep guns, but I would not keep your gun in your vehicle, because the problem with keeping a gun in your vehicle is that when you keep it in your vehicle gets broken into, someone finds it, now that person has your gun, and that person is already a criminal, so you don't know if that criminal is going to end up, shooting somebody later on, and if they do, now you are the suspect, and even if they find you innocent, then you still have to go through all the trouble and all the time and all of the money in order to prove your innocence. So it's best not to deal with that. But if you insist on keeping a gun in your vehicle, I would keep a very cheap one in your vehicle at all times, and I would check it daily so that you can report it stolen as soon as it is stolen. It's probably just not worth keeping the gun in your vehicle unless you are in there with it. And in case I didn't mention it, what I'm talking about is keeping this stuff in your vehicle when you're not in it, like overnight or something. Don't do it, okay? The next category that I'm going to cover is energy, light, and warmth with your bug-out vehicle. All right, this in primitive is just basically fire, but energy, light, and warmth. If you can store extra fuel, then store extra fuel. The problem with people that store extra fuel is they would be storing, like if they're in a vehicle, let's say a hatchback car, or a vehicle where the fuel storage is going to be internal to the car, you don't want to keep fuel in your car. That's going to be a problem, because now you've got a very heavy projectile that is combustible, and that's a bad thing. So don't do that. But if you are going to keep extra fuel, it's best to keep it in a compartment where it can't fly around if you get into an accident, and best to keep it from combusting, which is probably, a lot of trucks, they have stuff in the back, in their bed where they can keep a lot of extra fuel. I would even go as far to say as you may keep some very good containers of gasoline in the trunk of your vehicle, but it's very important that you are careful with where you keep fuel if you are going to keep spare fuel. Now, you could also, if you had a small moving trailer and you kept that with you all the time, you could probably keep all of your spare fuel in that moving trailer. That would be a pretty good place to put it. You want to keep lanterns, flashlights, and road flares. And this is in addition to what's in your bug-out bag. You can keep bigger lanterns, you can keep the flashlights and the road flares. We have a lantern that actually breaks into 4 parts, and it's got LEDs all over it, and it works very well. It's pretty cool. It's got a base that uses D batteries, and it charges the individual cells, the LED cells, by those D batteries. So the individual cells can actually run on their own internal battery, which I think these things run for about 8 hours without a charge. So that's pretty cool. All right, let's keep a 400 watt and an 800 watt power inverter in our vehicle. Keep both of those. And you know what? I wrote 400 watt, but let's do 200 watt. Let's keep a 200 watt and an 800 watt power inverter in our vehicle. The 200 watt can plug into any cigarette lighter or 12 volt DC outlet, and then the 800 watt will tie directly onto your battery. And I will release a video on cleversurvivalist.com soon enough about the connecting an 800 watt power inverter to your battery. So that's what you're going to do, is you're going to attach it directly to your battery, and now you've got an 800 watt generator. And like I said, if you plug a 200 watt into your cigarette lighter, that's another 200 watt of energy available. You'll want to keep an electric blanket for each person in your vehicle. That it's just really great. They're low draw and they keep each person warm. And we all have heard that you want to keep the person warm, not the space. So electric blankets are perfect at keeping people warm, using less energy, and not warming up the space. So keep an electric blanket for each person. You can also keep a wool blanket, a space blanket, and a bed sheet for each person. Space blankets keep people warm. The bed sheets just make it more comfortable. And a wool blanket will also keep people warm. So if you had I can promise you that if you had a wool blanket underneath a space blanket, and then let's just say a bed sheet to make the wool less itchy, then you're probably going to get overheated through the night, no matter how. You're just going to get overheated through the night, even on a cool night. All right, so now let's talk about utilitarian items for your bug-out vehicle. These are just good things to have. The first thing that you're going to have as a utilitarian item is going to be a camp shovel. Okay, the collapsible fold-up shovels, those are really great to have because you never know when you're going to need something like that. You want an extra, for each person, you want an extra set of summer clothing and a set of winter clothing. All right, that's in addition to what you would be wearing anyways. That's going to ensure that you have the proper clothing for whatever weather. You also want a jacket for each person as well. And you can pick the clothing, the jacket, whatever. You can pick all this up at like your local Goodwill or something. It doesn't have to be expensive stuff. Just find like really old, high quality clothing that you can throw in here that's going to cost you a few bucks, and it's just a backup. It's just going to be a backup for you. Now, I know I said the clothing, you can find really good used clothing at Goodwill as long as you get the really good stuff, right? But the fact that it's at Goodwill, it's really cheap. But you also can get hiking boots or shoes, but I would not recommend getting hiking shoes or boots. Hiking boots or shoes. Boy, told you guys I was messed up today. I would not recommend getting hiking boots or shoes from the Goodwill. I would recommend getting that stuff from an actual decent store, and I would say get decent ones as well. I wouldn't say get crap. You don't want to be walking in crap, and you're going to want to keep this stuff in your vehicle, because if you are the type of person that is going to wear loafers, or a woman's wearing pumps or something like that, then you're not going to be able to hike out and that kind of stuff. So you want to keep this stuff available as well. You also want to keep duct tape. All right. I told you that you wanted to keep duct tape, but I also recommend keeping electrical tape. I want you to keep black, red, green, and yellow electrical tape. One, they're very visible, and two, they have a lot of functions. So that I definitely recommend using that stuff. All right, you can use kitty litter. That's if it's snowing outside or something and you get stuck, keep some kitty litter there. Kitty litter is pretty good for getting you out. Another thing, since I'm thinking about getting out of snow and stuff like that, I think that's somewhere else in my show notes. But if you go to Lowe's or Home Depot and you get about 6 to 8 inch lengths of chain, and you get large zip ties, you can zip tie the chains to your wheels, and they do really well. So you don't have to spend an arm and a leg for tire chains. You can just get lengths of regular chain and then zip tie around to the inside of the tire. And I was actually considering doing a video on this. And if I do a video on this, it will be a post on cleversurvivalist.com. That's why you guys need to check both of my websites. The next thing is you want some navigation. Now, navigation doesn't always succeed. A lot of times this kind of stuff fails. Well, it's okay. The whole thing about modern and military survival is where wilderness survival tells you to know how to do all the primitive stuff. Well, modern day and military survival say know how to do the primitive stuff as a backup, but use what you have available now as your primary means. So, know how to do tracking and know how to do orienteering and stuff like that, but have GPS for your bug out vehicle. And that means both your phone and using a actual GPS device that has the maps inside it. Because when phone lines go down, your phone does not work for navigation. Another thing that you should have is maps of your destinations. Marked maps. You want to mark your maps up with 3 routes, 3 destinations, and 3 rally points. The rule of threes. 3 routes to get to 3. All right, let me rephrase this so that I can make it clear to you guys. You want 3 destinations. Then you want 3 routes to each destination, and along those 3 routes, you want at least 3 rally points or meetup points so that you can say, all right, everybody, we are going to meet at destination 2, and I am taking route 3, and I will meet you guys at rally point 1. And then everybody knows exactly where you guys are going, and they know the rally point to stop on the way. And that way everybody can meet up. And that is a way for you to say things over the radio, which we'll get to that as well. That's a way for you to say these things over the radio and be able to keep a little bit of operational security about you. You'll also want to keep a notebook with important information. And I'm talking about information like banks, phone numbers, the banks, their phone numbers, your account and routing information. And if you want to come up with some simple encryption for this stuff, that's okay too. As a matter of fact, I have a simple encryption on this stuff for mine so that it's just harder for people to get this information. But it's a good thing to have all this stuff in a central location. I believe I've pretty much said keep a small version in each bug out bag, keep a very detailed one in a safe in your home, and keep one in each vehicle. And then you'll keep a notebook like this in every trusted family member that you want to be able to meet up with you in a bad situation. So I already said the bank stuff. The next thing we're going to is important family and friends, their addresses, their phone numbers, their email addresses, their social names, things like that. You're also going to want all your emergency numbers in it. Let's see. That's about all I have for that. I believe I have a post on cleversurvivalist.com with all that information as well. Good vehicle reliability items to keep in your bug out vehicle. Now this could have gone into utilitarian, but I thought that it was important to have a separate little list that you could talk about your vehicle reliability items just to keep your vehicle on the road. Okay, I guess a couple of these have gotten crossed over. I put CB and ham radio in here, and I put lengths of chains and zip ties in here. That stuff should probably both be on utilitarian. But the CB or ham radio is, it's what that is what it is. If you have a ham license or can get a ham license, go with the ham radio. Don't waste your time with the CB. However, CBs are fairly cheap, and you can go ahead and get you a good CB radio and put it in your vehicle. So have yourself a CB or ham radio so that you have backup point-to-point communication. I already talked about fuel reserve and spare fuses. Keep a spare fuse kit in your vehicle. Just go ahead and look over there by your battery. There should be something underneath your hood that has a lot of fuses and stuff in it. It's basically your power distribution center in your vehicle. Well, under there, just go ahead, look in there, and kind of look at all the fuses that you have in there, and then go ahead and go into the cab of your vehicle, and where the driver is. Hold on one second. All right, I'm sorry, guys. I had to pause it because my daughter woke up. She is in the room, and the room that I'm in is connected to that. She was asleep this whole time. That's another reason why this podcast was a little bit off. But she just woke up, and now she is out of the room. So I can continue, and I can actually be a little bit louder. All right, so let's, where was I? I was talking about spare fuses. All right, and I already told you about under your hood. So look under your hood at the power distribution center and find those fuses. And then go in there, and where the driver is going to sit in the car, usually over by your left leg, you reach under there and there's a door or a hatch or something, and it's going to go to another fuse compartment that has to do with a lot of the things on your dash and stuff like that. So go ahead and kind of make notes of what fuses that you have, and then go to an auto parts store or whatever. Go ahead and get yourself a multi-fuse kit that has a lot of the fuses, but then you have fuses that are not in the multi-fuse kit. Find out what fuses those are and have those fuses on hand. I would recommend having spare fuses for every fuse that you have in your vehicle, because that will save you a lot of anguish if one of those goes out. Keep belts and hoses that will fit in your vehicle. All right. What I've done in the past is when my belt is going bad, it's starting to make noise and stuff like that, I buy a new belt, and I just buy new hoses because I don't usually have to replace those. But buy new belts and then buy new hoses. I put the new belts on my vehicle, and the whiny, squeaky stuff is my backup, because I really don't care if they're a little whiny or squeaky. This is just kind of some roadside stuff, right? You can just replace your belt real quick, and you can go. Keep some hose clamps, because whenever you're doing hoses and stuff in your vehicle, then you're going to need hose clamps to clamp them onto the metal pipes. You're going to want radiator, transmission, and tire sealant. You don't want to use this crap unless it's a last resort. That's what it is. Your radiator, transmission, tire sealant. Especially the tire sealant is going to ruin your tires, but it will keep them sealed up. But if you get a flat after using tire sealant, most of the time your flats cannot be fixed. The radiator and transmission, you really don't want to use leak stop stuff in those, because it can kind of mess up the heat transfer and stuff like that. But if it's leaking and you have to use this stuff, then you have to use this stuff. But understand that you could be paying more money on the back end trying to replace this stuff that you clogged up with all of this leak stop stuff. That's not saying that the leak stop is bad. This stuff is there for a reason, and it's really great in an emergency situation. Keep extra antifreeze on hand, and I already mentioned the water that you can mix with the antifreeze. Keep jumper cables in case you or somebody else needs a jump. And we talked about getting a flat in your tire, but here's the thing. You get a flat, and you get your tire plug kit out. And that's another thing on the list, the tire plug kit. All right, and you plug your tire. Well, that's great. Good job. You knew how to plug your tire. But now you're going to drive on a flat tire that has a plug in it. Or you put this tire sealant in there, and it plugged the hole for you. Well, great job. You have a sealed tire that doesn't have any air in it. So go ahead and get yourself a cigarette lighter air compressor. These things are like maybe 1/8 of a horsepower, 1/4 of a horsepower, something really small. I actually don't know what size mine is, but it takes about 10 minutes to air up each car, or each tire, I'm sorry. Maybe 5 minutes. But either way, it takes a while to air up a vehicle's tires, but it is there in case of an emergency. Another thing is we want to think critically, remember? So if you have a spare tire, now I don't know how much I would recommend this, but a lot of people that I know that do off-road, they keep the spare tire over-pressurized. And what they do is they attach a hose connection to their flat tire and then pressurize their flat tire with their spare tire that was over-pressurized. And that's a good idea, and it's really cool to see people think of things like that, but be careful. If you're going to do that, I would recommend getting a tire that has the ability to hold that max pressure. All right. Another thing that you want to do is get a toolkit, because you want a full wrench and socket set and a hammer. You never know what you're going to need. Your wrench and socket set, your hammer. You're going to want at least a flathead screwdriver and probably a Phillips head screwdriver. All right. You're going to want a full vehicle toolkit like this. Because you never know when you're changing out a tire, and you never know when you've got to fix something underneath the hood real quick, and you just needed that wrench, or you just needed that socket or that screwdriver. The last thing is toe straps. You want toe straps in your reliability items. Just in case you get stuck, even with your infinite wisdom of kitty litter and tire chains and stuff like that, go ahead and get some toe straps. That way somebody can tow you out because you got stuck, even though you had all that stuff. Or if you come across some idiot that got stuck and you wanted to be a good Samaritan, then you can go ahead and pull him out. This list was supposed to be tailored to your needs, okay? So this is just a list of ideas. You take what you want from my list and add it to yours. You remove what you want from my list and, alter yours based on what you need, where you're at, where you plan to go. All these other variables that I can't tell you that is in your life, you tailor all of this to your life, okay? This is not a cookie cutter thing. You can start off cookie cutter, but you're going to end up making it all your own stuff. I will also send a link to you guys. I will also add a link to this about my Clever Survivalist blog post on this subject. I actually had a post on this probably about a year back. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on here as well so that you guys can go and read that one, because, I have people that read my blog as well as people that listen to my podcast. I'm sorry if this one was a little bit long, or if it was drawn out, or if it seemed kind of scatterbrained. I'm also sorry if it's kind of boring because the way I'm speaking, but like I said, today was kind of a messed up day. Hopefully this will get better, and I really appreciate you guys listening to me. Please call me at 978-KNOWS-IT and give me your questions, because I want to make this your podcast, not my podcast. Now what I want you to do is I want you to print out this list and go to your vehicle or go into your garage or whatever and find everything that you can find that is on this list that is in these areas around your house, and put those things in your vehicle if it's on this list, okay? Because this is supposed to be in your vehicle. And then whatever you have left, you go ahead and go get that stuff as well. And you don't have to buy all this stuff, okay? You can find this stuff. You got friends that can find this stuff. And you also have junkyards where you can get a lot of this stuff, okay? So I appreciate you guys listening, and that's a wrap. That's the end of this show. Come back next week. Goodbye.